Being a husky is a true task, but it's very worth it to do. Not for the faint of heart, for sure. Guys, it's cyan, like the color cyan, not cyan.
Cyan, Chardon, Cyan, Saigon, just cyan.
Color.
You'll see me on inkjet printers, paint cans, you name what color I'm probably gonna be on it.
Anywho, today we're gonna be doing a little
I was trying to make my phone my microphone, but it did not work out that way, so just please ignore that.
different video. I'm gonna be talking about my favorite artist, my inspiration. He means a lot, so we can just relate to some aspects of his story, and I just really appreciate him overall as a person. Like, he's really just like a win,
Win for the girls. I love him so much.
Killed two birds with one stone here. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. This is for a project. Shout out to my professor. Hey, thought I had this assignment. I would have been posting a video like this had I not, honestly, because I didn't know if this would be something interesting. I'm trying to make a challenge out of it. I'm doing this. Yes, I'll even include this adorable timer for added pizzazz. Under 10 minutes. I'm gonna fast forward some things. I am gonna like speed up some things.
It's like, I don't think this is cheating. It's under 10 minutes and I can cut it.
We're good. So let's go ahead and dive in on my favorite iconic.
Self-taught and without a high school diploma, became one of the 20th century's master
Unsung artist heroes, Mr.
Gordon Parks was a Renaissance man. I mean, you know.
Said before, I don't even know how to spell Renaissance yet.
Gordon Parks.
Born November 30th, 1912 in Fort Scott, Kansas. It's really weird because I actually had a brief moment where I went to second grade.
For a short time in Fort Scott, that's actually why. Happened to be weird timing, honestly enough. My parents who knew a guy,
invited us to the funeral. Got the invitation to the celebration of life. I felt very...
I didn't know what was going on until I was in second grade. My mom told me, she was like, this is a big deal, you don't understand why? Like, you'll see pretty soon, like later in life.
And now I'm just like in awe. And he is the first Black director of a Hollywood studio film, poet,
Also a very fine writer and composed music, just a little bit of everything.
photographer for the Life magazine, really highlighting from the 1940s and 1970s of poverty in Black American neighborhoods.
Also filmed his life on PBS, where he was able to have a full direction, composing of all the music. If you have the time to watch The Learning Tree.
It's a really, really good film. I highly recommend it. I will say there's a few triggers in there and it's pretty heavy, but he just does such a good job all around of just making a really good film.
You cry, you laugh, you're like, oh my goodness, the way he just paints this love story between him and his first love. Because it has a lot of similarities to his life, however, I think it's just like loosely based.
He also has an HBO documentary, Life of Gordon Parks.
Paris became my beautiful mistress, seducing me with the color and the compositions of Degas, Braque, Bonnard, Picasso, Van Gogh, Chagall,
and other masterful artists. Gradually, they would influence all my work, especially in fashion.
Which we're actually going to get back into later on. Youngest of 15, his mother passed away at 14, so Mr. Gordon was expected at the time to be another breadwinner of the family.
It was not any genius attached to it. It was just a matter of my being able to eat breakfast the next morning after my mother died. I had to become a man overnight.
How old were you?
About 14 and a half, or 15 years old.
I realized I didn't finish high school, and then I had to do something about it. I wanted to be somebody. I had in Kansas a white teacher who used to tell the black students that we shouldn't only worry about finishing high school, because if we tried to go to college, it was going to cost our parents a lot of money, and we could only be porters and maids. And I didn't want to take her advice. I wanted to be somebody.
He did a lot of
odd jobs: busboy, piano player,
And finally, porter and waiter.
I had a mean brother-in-law who didn't like kids, and my mother just died, and they shipped me from Kansas to 35 degrees below zero weather, and he kicked me out. I was frightened.
St. Paul, Minneapolis to the end of the line, and would ride back to the end of St. Paul. By that time it was nearly gone. And
I see all the things that Mr. Parks did, and I really feel like it helped his eye with his own photography. A lot of racism at the time.
Whatever I suffered has made me whatever I've become.
Your art came out of that pain.
I was feeling when I'm at the piano composing, I'm painting, or I'm doing poetry, art photography, somehow or another.
Through segregated elementary schools, when schools were forced To be integrated, Mr. Parks was able to go to Mechanical Arts High School. He was limited on a lot of activities. You could see this highlighted in his film, The Learning Tree. Like I said, please go watch it. It's so good. It's been so long since I've seen it, and I finally was able to like grasp it as an adult now that I'm in college.
It was like really cool to see, and I was just like, wow, so full circle. And the fact that it was filmed in Fort Scott, where I went to elementary school, and it's like I recognize the park where he had a lot of scenes in. So it's really weird, it's really trippy, and I love it. It's really cool. I feel like it's a little gift.
I said Mr. Gordon Parks had a lot of odd jobs, and one of those jobs included being a waiter on a railway. And during this time, he was able to be on layover in Chicago during the downtime.
And one day I saw the
bombing of
bombing
the USS
Benai by the Japanese,
which highlighted the attack on the U.S. Navy riverboat and 3 oil tankers. Just a really insightful historical moment itself.
Norman Alley, the photographer, was at the theater. He jumped out on stage in a white suit at tremendous applause, and I thought that was very glamorous.
Why not? Like, he's like, hey, I think I could do that. And honestly, he did. He literally did that. And
You buy a used camera. That $7.50 is the best money he will ever spend.
Basically, the camel that struck the man's back.
Very expensive, exclusive store, strictly for rich white women. For some reason or another, I can't tell you why, I walked into that store and asked for Frank Murphy. Frank Murphy came out, double-breasted suit, gray flannel, looked down at me as though I was a worm or something, pushed me out the door. Madeline, who looked to be 15 feet tall, was waiting on one of our customers, rich customers. She said, Frank, what does the young man want? Just like that. She says, come here, just like that. Frank said, groaned. Oh, my God, you know what I mean? So I walked in and said, can you shoot fashions, young man? And I lied and said, yes, ma'am. Oh, no, ma'am, I don't have any of my work on me. She said, what makes you think you can shoot fashions? I said, well, I've seen Vogue and I've seen Harper's Bazaar. I know what I can do. She said, I'm going to give you a chance.
took his first photo in 1939.
So this is really cool. So when he developed his first film, the person at the counter was so impressed, he said that he should definitely go and try to be seen by like an agent. And that he did.
Gag is, there's always a woman involved. There's always a woman putting on a man, I swear.
I said, what happened? I said, I double exposed everything. She said, what are you going to do? I said, don't you have any? I said, no, it's only one. She said, is that good? I said, yeah, that's good. She said, well, call up Harvey and have him to make you a printout and show it to Miss Murphy tomorrow. So I did. I called Harvey at 3 o'clock in the morning. Harvey said, man, it's 3 o'clock. I was honest. I told her I double exposed. I didn't know how to use that camera. And she said, well, would they all have been that good? I said, well, that's the worst one of all.
But that's a whole nother story for another day.
Wife of American boxer Joe Louis. She was so delighted by the photos that she was able to convince the wife of Gordon to be like, hey, come on down and shoot. And they basically moved down. He started taking photos for Muhammad Ali, actually in Miami, Florida. Shout out Florida. So weird. I feel like I've lived everywhere that he's lived at, and it's super cool. After convincing Gordon to finally move to Chicago, he was able to shoot for the SSCAC and was able to befriend Langston Hughes, Charles White, Elizabeth Catlett, Max Weber, and Isaac Sawyer. Founders of social realism are gathering from Southside commentary centers.
All that attention landed him a job at the Farm Security Administration, a New Deal government project that involved documenting poor rural workers to generate political support for government aid. In the FSA, Parks took what would become his most famous picture.
Like, this really makes me happy to see all Gordon was able to do and accomplish in the steps and ladders he was able to meet and network. Even though that's not what he was even planning to do at all. Actually, he explains this.
On my own, you know, I wasn't thinking about the race or anything like that. I would be very honest about it. It was only after I became a life photographer that I knew that I must assume the responsibility that it would take, consider myself an excellent photographer so that I could open the door for other black writers and photographers after me. But my first worry was getting on the staff, and that's what I worked at.
Though Mr. Gordon has a lot of highlighted attributes, he always says the photos that he's most known for are the ones that he wished he never had.
I had to take people who were impoverished, people in need, and I suppose that I pointed my camera at people mostly who needed someone to say something for them, who couldn't speak for themselves. So you take a picture of a little Brazilian boy or a picture of a kid in Harlem who was in need. It may have turned out to be the best picture, but I hated taking it, but I had to do it.
Perspective, the work, and the life of a dedicated artist. using his camera as a weapon.
That was a motherfucking bazooka. That wasn't no 6-shooter or rifle. When Mr. Gordon Parks had that camera in his hand, that was a bazooka. That was a weapon. And you, the photographs, his body of work is a testament to that.
That is Gordon Parks in 10 minutes. I know that was super, super brief. I could talk about Gordon Parks all day, every day. Go into the learning tree.
They're even too pretty to pick.
Then don't. Let's just sit and look.
That would be silly, wouldn't it?
I don't think so.
All right, just for a minute or two, and then we go back, okay?
And maybe talk about all the art government-funded projects Gordon Parks once participated in that are now disappeared. We could do a whole thing on that and not actually make that long. Like, we have to make that, honestly, at least 15 minutes. This was really fun to make. I was excited because this is actually something that I'm really into. I love art. This is part of my major. I'm a fine art student, so I'm really excited. And I'm really nervous. Well, hopefully my teacher thinks it's cool, but that's really good. That's what honestly. So shout out to you, Professor. All right, see you guys later. All right, see you guys later. Bye.
What have you most wanted to do that you haven't?
There's nothing. That I haven't done. I wish that I could do everything I've done better. I wish I could compose better music. I wish I could take better photographs. I wish I could write better poetry and write better novels and so forth. That's all I wish for. I've had my share of doing. Right now, as I say, always let me do it better.
The documentary is called Half Past Autumn. The book is called A Star for Noon. The artist is Gordon Parks. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.